Why alternative energy sources are the future. Alternative energy is any amount of energy derived from non-fossil fuel sources. Generally speaking, using alternative energy has a low environmental impact. What's the difference between renewable and alternative energy sources? We now know that alternative energy sources are any source we use to supplement or even replace traditional energy sources used for power generation. All renewable energy sources fall under the category of alternative energy sources, but it doesn't work the other way around. That's because renewable energy sources are derived from naturally replenished sources or processes of Earth, such as the sun, wind, and water. We refer to these resources as renewable or sustainable, as in sustainable energy, since, unlike fossil fuels, this naturally occurring continual renewal makes them inexhaustible. However, it's possible for there to be alternative energy sources that are exhaustible, and therefore not renewable. The equipment necessary to harness energy from alternative sources used to be so expensive that it wasn't practical for consumer use. However, thanks to increased demand, more experienced energy developers, competitive supply chains, improved renewable technologies, and enhanced energy efficiency capabilities, that's no longer the case. In fact, the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA, released a report back in 2020 showing how renewable power has now become increasingly cheaper than fossil fuels for electricity generation. Let's look at a few of the best alternative energy sources we use today. Onshore wind power and solar photovoltaics, respectively, are currently the most affordable options when it comes to energy production. Using these two natural resources over coal could save as much as $23 billion in yearly power system expenses. Bioenergy, geothermal energy, hydroelectric power, and nuclear energy are also making their way into the financially competitive spotlight, depending significantly on location. What is the most efficient alternative energy source? When it comes to energy efficiency, the leader of the renewable energy pack is wind energy. Behind wind comes geothermal energy, hydropower, nuclear energy, and then solar power. Out of all the known energy sources, nuclear energy has the highest capacity factor by far. Natural gas is considered the cleanest burning and most reliable fossil fuel, but it still isn't a clean energy resource. However, there is an alternative called renewable natural gas, RNG. While it's not a fossil fuel, RNG is completely identical to conventional natural gas in chemical makeup, allowing them to use the same distribution system. Which alternative energy source is least damaging to the environment? As it turns out, wind energy, which uses turbines to harness its power from the wind, is one of the cleanest and most sustainable forms of electricity generation. It's able to produce energy without generating any pollutants or global warming emissions. What are the most commonly used alternative energy sources? Wind power has tripled over the past 10 years in the United States, making wind energy the #1 largest renewable energy source in the nation. Wind power is one of the alternative energy sources that serves both individuals and entire communities. Solar power most commonly refers to the use of photovoltaic cells, or solar cells, to create energy. On a larger scale, you may see a solar farm used as a power plant to produce electricity for their consumers. Generated from the energy of moving water, hydroelectricity, also known as hydropower, is produced when water behind a dam causes turbine blades to move as it flows through an intake. The turbine blades then rotate a generator to produce electricity that is sent to power homes and businesses. We generate geothermal power by tapping into underground reservoirs of hot water and steam. We generate bioenergy from organic materials known as biomass or biofuels. In nuclear power plants, the heat that fission produces creates steam. Tidal energy is renewable and produces large amounts of energy even with low-speed tides. Wave energy is an alternative energy source derived from waves as they move across the water. Wave energy uses electricity generators placed on the ocean's surface. Which alternative energy sources are non-renewable? While nuclear energy itself happens to be a renewable energy source, we do not classify it in the renewable category. The material used in nuclear power plants to create nuclear fission is typically a rare type of uranium, which is non-renewable. Another alternative energy source that is sometimes considered a non-renewable source is biomass energy, which relies on biomass feedstocks, plants that are processed and burned for electricity generation. If you don't replant quickly enough, biomass energy turns into a non-renewable energy source. What are the benefits of using alternative energy sources? When we use renewable resources to produce energy, it's much gentler on the environment than burning fossil fuels. Solar and wind power have unlocked the potential to generate an energy reserve plentiful enough to meet the world's demand. When you look at how affordable, effective, and economically friendly these powerhouses are, you begin to see how we could displace fossil fuels within the next 30 years. Most consumers agree that the benefits of using alternative energy sources far outweigh any drawbacks.